Hey Drawing 2 students, I want to show you kind of the next step in putting your candy composition together. What we need to do is get things drawn according to the rough sketch that we've created and the pictures that you took on your phone. Now I happen to have printed mine off so that I wouldn't have to work from my phone since I'm doing the video on my phone. So I actually like the colors on my phone better. These aren't too bad, but I'll probably, for the actual drawing, refer back to the photographs I took as well. But to get started, what we want to do is put a little border around our paper that's about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch wide. Now the reason we have that border is thinking ahead. If we want to put a mat around this and eventually frame the work, and what I mean by a mat is this right here. We want to be able to overlap the mat over the artwork, so that little bit of a border helps us in doing so. So I'm using a ruler right now. If you don't have a ruler, anything that has a straight edge to it will work, like this file folder. I can use that to create that border. And that just shows me where I can end my drawing. I don't have to draw all the way to the edge. Now the next thing I want to do is start to get things drawn on the paper. And looking at my 2 images here, I really quite like this one better. I like the perspective a little bit better. This one's more from a top view looking down. This one's a little bit more from a side view looking up at the candy. I wish though I had staggered the pieces a little bit more. So as I draw these, I think these two are in good relationship, but I think I'll shift that piece over just a little bit when I draw it. Now to help me get things drawn and blocked in, one thing that you might want to think about is putting a plus sign through your artwork. And in effect, just dividing it into 4 quarters, like that. That way I can just focus on each quarter as I start to create my drawing. So I'll do the same thing on my paper. You can measure, or I'm just going to guesstimate that that's about halfway. And here again, I'll just kind of guesstimate that that's about halfway. Just kind of eyeball it. Oops. Okay, so now I have my 4 quarters here. That's a little high, actually. I'm going to drop that down just a little. And then erase that. Now with those 4 quarters, as I've divided my paper, I can more easily start to draw these shapes. So as I look at this first piece of candy, it really takes up almost half of the composition. So I'm going to start to draw these angles. The top of that piece of candy. And then the side. And I'm just blocking it in right now using straight lines. And even this paper, I'll start to kind of block in. I'm drawing kind of light because if I make a mistake, I want to be able to erase everything. And if I draw it in too dark, it's hard to erase. Now this brown part of this piece of candy really goes almost, that edge goes right across that line right there. It comes down to this yellow part and angles up. And then that white part goes off the page. This line divides that line almost in half. So I know that that piece of candy should go up to about there. And I'll just keep blocking these things in. Now, that's over a little bit too far. I'm going to bring that back just a little. And get that candy shifted a little bit more to the right. Let's use my eraser and get rid of those lines right there. And then I'm going to go for this orange piece. It doesn't quite go off the top of the paper. It starts to come down and it touches this piece of candy about right there. So, you know, I know that these pieces of candy are all the same size, so my brain wants me to draw them all the same size. But my eye is telling me, as this gets further away, it's got to be smaller than the one that's closer to me. Now, I'm not really liking that. I don't like how this goes off the page. So I'm going to actually erase that. And as an artist, I think I want this orange piece over here more. So I'm going to draw it the same. I'm just going to shift it over. So it's going to be a little different compared to its relationship with this one. But that way I get a little more movement through my composition that I'm kind of going for. Okay, that little piece of white in there. So that's the beginning. Anyway, that's everything being blocked in. Now that I have the whole composition kind of blocked in, I can start to come in to, you know, this section and really now start to refine my shapes. Those edges really aren't very sharp. And you can see, you know, there's a little highlight in the wrapper going through there. So I'm going to start to draw things in a little more detail. I can get rid of this plus sign that I drew through the artwork. And this part, just the part of drawing this candy and drawing it with pretty good detail, is probably going to take me several hours. So don't feel like you have to be in a hurry. I mentioned before that this drawing could take about 20 hours to produce. So please don't feel like you're in a rush. What I would do is take, you know, an hour a day at least and spend, you know, a good amount of time just focused on the details. And even before, you know, you start to add color to it, make sure it's drawn really well. As a matter of fact, I would like to see your drawing before you add color to it. And I'll provide some information on how to take a picture and download it in Canvas so that you can send me the image and I'll have a look at it. Well, that's the next step. The next thing we'll talk about, I'll probably next week sometime, we'll talk about how to add color. Thanks.